Welcome, football fans. Buckle up for another hard-hitting episode of Player 54 Podcast, an independent show focused solely on alternative and opportunity football. From a sunny Southwest Florida studio, here is your host, Michael Lathrop.
Hello, football fans. This is episode 137, The Dukes Join CoFL. Welcome back to another episode of Player 54 Podcast. Today, we welcome Cincinnati Dukes owner and president LeVar Berry to discuss his team, the decision to join the Continental Football League, and more. Welcome, LeVar. I appreciate taking the time to appear on the show to discuss the Cincinnati Dukes, the decision to join the Continental Football League, and possibly more.
Yes, great. Yes, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. It's always a treat to have new individuals on the show to learn more about teams, opportunities, whatever's on the horizon. I think it's always that newness, right? It's kind of an exciting time. And although you haven't started something completely from scratch here, I think we'll kind of rewind this a little bit to kind of get a little bit more of your backstory. So before we address that recent announcement, it could be beneficial if you took a moment for those that are tuning in, so we can get a little bit of kind of your brief background about yourself, your introduction to the game of football, and what led you to eventually launch the Cincinnati Dukes.
Okay. All right, sure. Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that. So, first off, my name is LeVar Berry. I am the current president now of the Cincinnati Dukes, formerly just the sole owner. We just decided to move up to the pro level. So let me give you a little bit of backstory about the Cincinnati Dukes and how it actually came to be. So I loved football since I would say third grade. I had an opportunity to play coming off of a soccer season. So in second grade, I played soccer, and I didn't like it. I wasn't good at it. It just didn't feel like me. So the first time I ever played football, I'm telling you, I was hooked. Like, just the contact, the teamwork, and I'm more of an analytical type. And I just like the strategy behind it. It wasn't really just, okay, like in basketball where you can have that one star athlete that you can just completely dominate it. The fact that it's almost like a chess game, right? Not checkers. Loved it. I played all the way through high school. I was supposed to play for Kent State University, but we won't go into that debacle. But I found myself for a while actually out of football. And quite honestly, having played from third grade all the way up and, like I mentioned, just not playing in college, like, it hurt. I wasn't myself, right? Like, I felt like a part of me had actually like kind of died almost. And then, one day I happened to catch a local access channel here in Cincinnati, and I saw a semi-pro team that just happened to make it to this like channel that nobody was probably ever watching. And I'm like, scratching my head. And then I found out where their next game was, and worked my way onto the team. That was the King's Comets at the time. Played a number of years with them, ended up being the president and VP of marketing until that ran its course. And I thought, okay, they're going in a direction that I didn't want to go, quite frankly. So I started my own team. I started the Cincinnati Dukes the very first year. I actually was a player, coach, owner, and that was pretty rough. That was really rough to do all three. So after that first season, I gave it up. And when I gave it up, I won't go into the details of the drama, but we had an incident. We had an incident where, I thought I had 50 players on the team, and I was traveling a lot for work, and I come back and found out I had three. And we had like 4 weeks until the season was supposed to start. I had three players. And a lot of people were like, well, just pack it up. It's not going to work. Forget about it. And I'm like, no, 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 no. We're not only are we going to make it, but we're going to be the longest running semi-pro team in the area by far. We're going to shatter the record. And then I got one of my teammates, and I consider him a brother, Daryl Moore, to come on and head coach and help recruit. And we started the season. And by the end of that first season, we had, I think, 35 players. So we were not good. We were not good at all. And but we survived, and that was the goal. And from there, and this is 2013. And then year after year, we just kept growing and growing and growing until the last few years, we became the league champions for the league that we play in. And not only that, we were the first time back-to-back AA national champions. So we went from being a team of just three players 4 weeks before the season to a powerhouse team, um, almost 13, 14 years later. So, at this point in our stage, we do try to get a lot of our players to move up to the next level. And, an opportunity presented itself, meeting Manny from the Ironman. And, I was thinking, and mention it to Daryl, everybody calls him Slash. And like, we try to get players to the next level. Why don't we just go to the next level? Like, we've accomplished everything that we needed to accomplish in semi-pro. Now it's time for us to move on as well. So here we are. That's how we got to the Cincinnati Dukes, with a 15 plus year history now at the pro level. And, we're leveling up, and taking some, do have some players on our team that are very good that are going to come with us, but for the most part, we're raising the stakes right now, and we want to compete at a much higher level. And um, very intrigued with the setup that Manny has put together. We are in it hook, line, and sinker. Like, we absolutely love the community ownership part of the Continental Football League, and we're just absolutely excited for the 2026 season.
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. I mean, I just think there's some, and we have a short span of time, so I kind of want to just rewind it here a little bit. So Cincinnati Dukes have
Yes.
existed more than a decade, right?
Yes.
Playing in various semi-professional leagues. Last season, your team scheduled a pair of games against, the resurrected Ohio Valley Ironmen. You're right. You allude
Yes.
to that. A professional team, right? You're a semi-pro team playing against a professionally, they're paying their players, right? So,
Correct.
like, you talk about that leveling up. Now, many people, I'm not saying I'm not saying that, but I see a lot of people like this think, well, man, this is just, you know, looking at how the scores of those games and stuff went, LeVar. There's a lot of people like, this is pure stupidity, right? But others are more of a forward thinking, looking at new opportunities, right? And you mentioned about that leveling up. So, can you share with us a little bit about that mindset of leveling up? And how did maybe that decision to have your Dukes playing against the Ironmen really shift that vision, that focus, that mindset?
Yeah. So, you alluded to the scores, and we did see the scores of the teams that played after us. I know Manny's watching. He didn't beat us that bad, right? Like, as expected. Quite honestly, his O line and D line were extremely, extremely talented. I think after that, we matched up really well. And I know that because a lot of those players have been recruited to play on the team, on for the Ironman. So we knew we were at that level. We just didn't have that level of talent at every single spot, because we don't pay players. In fact, it's kind of the other way around. Our players take care of their own uniforms and helmets and shoulder pads and all that. So it is a cost to them. So if we did have that available, we feel that we could recruit a level of talent that could compete against them. Now, I want to keep it friendly until football season starts, but I really believe that we will be extremely competitive, when we step into the league.
So, a decision to elevate,
Yeah.
the Dukes to the professional ranks. There are a number of options. I don't want to say that they're endless, LeVar, but I mean, there's some options, right? So you're playing against the Ironmen, and you see kind of their affiliation with the IFA and what's happening with that. But then, okay, so now there's the Continental Football League. It's easy to have that affiliation, that comfort level. But there's other things in the work, the PIFL and stuff. Can you kind of just tell us what it is about the Continental Football League and its model? You alluded to the community
Yes.
ownership
Yes.
that really piqued your interest and ultimately swayed you that this, not only your comfort level with playing against the Ironmen and whatnot, but this particular project was worth doing and doing now.
Right. 100%, 100%. So, yeah, the IFA. I do know Jason. We actually did explore becoming a part of the IFA. I got pretty far down the road with that. To be honest, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel special, right? Talking with Manny, and really even before that, and like I always tried, in my mind, figure out, okay, anything that's like non-NFL, why doesn't it work? Football, you know, I think without it, any debate is America's sport, right? Like we all love football. So why does non-football work, but minor league baseball work? And when Manny mentioned, you know, the teams would be community owned, I'm like, that's it. Because people, they don't have a reason to really go in let's say the other non-NFL teams. I won't put anybody out there, but it's like you can't just throw guys on the field and someone feels connected and they feel like, hey, I'm going to cheer for these guys, right? I'm going to cheer for my gladiators on the field. They don't know them, right? They don't have a reason to. But if it's community owned, they're not playing just for a paycheck or a chance to go back to the NFL. Like nobody cares about that but that player, right? But if they're playing for you, if they're playing for, your hometown, like now it's different, right? Like you are the owner. They are playing for your team, your community. I feel that has there's like an instant affinity towards the players and the team and everything that it stands for, versus the other methods that are just, well, these are just guys that didn't make the NFL and perhaps maybe one day you can cheer them on and they make the NFL again. Like, is that enough, right? Like I obviously, you know, those teams do struggle with that. But I feel the Continental Football League has solved something that, well, the truth will tell itself soon. I believe it. I think this might be that secret sauce to get non-NFL teams to be completely relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to get into my thoughts and stuff too much, right? The
Mhm.
interview is here, but there is something about this model that it's clearly different. We've seen a number of people that either just don't have ties to a community come in, whether they have money or not, to launch an entity. And what we've seen a lot, forget about the IFA, PIFL, and COFL right now, but looking at the likes of the XFL, AAF, USFL, now turned UFL, it's a centralized ownership model. Like it just feels like
Right.
there's a loss of a connection. Like you mentioned, that community-owned part. So I think it's easy for somebody from the outside to be like, yeah, like you said, that's it. I think also from the community standpoint, right? I'm somebody that has been a season ticket holder in different places, and I've lost my teams, right? Whether it's been a relaunch of a league and the the ownership, the boardroom, right? Whoever's sitting in that decision making process, they don't have an attachment to state. They're always looking at a bottom line to whatever makes sense to them.
Right.
Now you have deep roots, right? I mean, you have established roots. This is not something you live there for a year, 15 months. Like, you have established roots. You have a team that has been tied in the community. And, so I wanted to do a little bit of research into that, right? And I know, like you mentioned, you're back-to-back champions and this, and you have been around for, several years. But, in preparation for today's sit down, I scrolled through the team's website. I'm not saying there's a million things to scroll through, but, you mentioned previously that you operate as pay for play, organization where, players, supplied their own pads and whatnot. But it said on there the ownership is losing or was losing money every year, right? That's what it said in the about section. So I
Yes.
think this is important that, like, some people, I know there's going to be red flags going off. Oh, blah, blah, blah. That maybe this is not. Well, you are looking at a model, right? And there are fans. You are, in a market that has other professional football. So, I mean, like, why is it the right, the model's one thing, but why is it the right time for you guys right now as the organization to make that step, that leap? Because, I mean, I'm assuming, you're looking at your roster, right? You're not paying players, but now you're going professional, so that's going to change things. You got a core of players, but how many of those players or staff members might be returning? This is a significant shift. So is this more of a complete rebuild to establish a new foundation? How much of the Cincinnati Dukes is going to feel like the Cincinnati Dukes?
Yes. Great question. I think first off, it's probably going to be an 80% rebuild. With new players and additional coaches, additional staff members, etc. We do have existing, I would say about 20% of our talent is at that level to play in this league. They are really good. In addition to that, our head coach, Daryl Moore, I mean, he's coached the team well. He's been a professional player himself. So I feel like we are in good hands, with him as the head coach. In addition, you also alluded to what's on our About Us page about us losing money. There's a little bit of backstory to that. So with semi-pro, it can get a little rowdy, right? I'll just leave it at that. And the goal of playing in semi-pro wasn't really for the fans. It was about the players. I did it honestly, and it was me. I owned at the time the Cincinnati Dukes 100%. It was me losing money every single year, but I did it because of the guys on the team, 100%. I love football, and I knew the difference that it was making in their lives to be able to play football instead of out doing something that could get them in trouble or just put their lives on the wrong path. And quite honestly, and maybe you'll get a chance to interview some of them, but to be able to help them outside of football, meant the world to me, right? Like, there's a number of them that, come into some of my businesses and, have jobs when they need money or they need advice or, just kind of being like, that big brother to them. That means more to me than anything else. Because football, I mean, that part is just the game, but the brotherhood, and big brother, little brother, whatever you want to call it, like, that is really the true value of, like, football from a player standpoint. So we didn't really invite fans. Now it's a little different. Now we want to grow. We want to, take our talents to a higher level. So that's why, and especially right now, because we've, I feel, accomplished everything we needed to in semi-pro. We've won back-to-back champions, and now, people don't want to play us, or at least that's what, they say on the street. I'm sure when this drops, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of messages of people saying, "Yeah, we'll play you." Okay, play us now. Yeah, would be good. But we just feel like, okay, this is the time, right? Like, this is the time to go to that higher level. Because we've accomplished what we needed to accomplish, right? Like, let's move the whole organization up. Let's take what we've learned over the last 20 years and then do it at a higher level. Right. So I'm excited to do that. I feel it right now, this timing is like a no-brainer. It couldn't come at a better time, quite honestly.
So joining the Continental Football League,
Mhm.
you're a member of the North Division, which with the Dukes, in a series of more games um, with the Ironmen and whatnot. But this time it puts more at stake, careers, pride, playoff
Yes.
implications, right? Um, it moves motivation a lot differently, right? It's one thing like you're invested to the game, the family, aspect of what a team means, right? That brotherhood you meant to talk about. Um, but is it safe to say, because we haven't seen the rest of the division filled out, right? Because we know the league is still announcing teams. Is it safe to say that maybe the Ironmen and Dukes, we have the beginning of a new rivalry?
I hope so. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to see it. It would be a friendly rivalry. I have the highest regards for Manny in his organization. But when we're on the field, we're on the field, right? And we're gonna bring it, when we're on the field for sure. And when we get off the field, we can, go grab a drink, whatever the case may be. But when we're on the field, we're gonna bring it. And we did, yeah, they did beat us, right? So and we're not gonna forget. Right. So there's going to be 20% of the people on that team that did not forget, because quite honestly, no one had beat us by that kind of margin in years, like in years. So yeah, it stung a little bit, right? We knew what we were up against. It stung a little bit, but we will remember, right? And next time we are going to bring it. So yes, I think you're right. It's going to be a rivalry for sure.
Well, you just kind of look at it, and I know I've talked on a bunch of shows, when just, we talk about the Continental Football League or whatever, and I look at the regional aspect of it, and I think how that is also very key to, not only expenses, right? Keeping expenses in check, but
Mhm.
um, it's huge, I think, for the fan component of it, right? Like we see, I think the best division for all the way rounded rivalry in the NFL is the AFC North, and just how you see how close proximity
Right.
that division is compared to some of the other divisions. I'm not saying there aren't other stronger individual rivalries between two particular teams in other divisions. I'm just saying when you look at all four teams and the rivalry they have between all of the teams, I just think, but I can't help that proximity to one another plays a big role in that.
Yes.
And so like community and like, well, it's easy to go attend this and that. It's just like there has been some shift. Well, obviously, it kind of helps a little bit to have a little bit of lose a team from Cleveland going to, Baltimore that also adds some additional sting, right? A little
Right.
extra fuel to the fire. But, you know, I look at this that new leagues often don't have any of that, any ties, right? So here you have some sting, right? There
Yes.
is some sort of time. Maybe it's not long lasting historical, significance, but I think sometimes new leagues, new teams, it's everything's just too new. There's just nothing like there's no rivalry, there's no, animosity in any which way towards you. If you hate a city, you hate a city, but that's not really sports related. But so I'm looking at this from the football purist, angle and how they typically can't get enough football. But there's always been, like you mentioned, that those extra elements. And I think this kind of comes back to adding some more of that. The Continental Football League is forging its new path, way of community ownership. So it really does draw in that community aspect.
Right.
Essentially, is giving the game back to the people, which I think is pretty huge, right?
Yes.
We got into this spot of very corporate, very elitist, types of football all over the place. So this is really giving football back to the people. So, but there's another aspect about it that I've come around on, but they're also blending the American and Canadian rules in a way that keeps the game, keeps them a little separate, but it keeps it all in the same game. So I I'm kind of curious, like, there's some people that love the CFL, some people that don't, right? So living and serving the greater Cincinnati community for years, how do you anticipate people and their reaction to the continental shift?
Yeah, in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's going to be interesting because you know, I admittedly I have an affinity towards, the NFL and how they play because we've played NFL rules forever. However, I've seen many Canadian football games, and I would say the movements, and whatnot, it it adds a little bit more flair to the game. Um, like especially if you have an elite wide receiver and he's already moving at full speed, like you're going to see some explosive plays. So for the fans, I think when they see it, they're going to be like, wow, right? Like, you could be down by 2 touchdowns and then like, just people dropping bombs, because of how wide open receivers may be, because a lot of our guys haven't played those rules, right? So it'll take time to catch up. So I think the fans will love it. I know for myself and the coaching staff we have now, we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that. And I know Manny does have an advantage on that one because he did coach in the CFL. But for to answer your question, though, I think the fans will actually really love it because what we can do as far as fan experience is like really hype up that fourth quarter, right? Like make it like it's like there's pandemonium or something going on, like because you'll see people just moving all over the place, something you've never seen before. And I think they'll be really excited to see it, right?
It's a different brand of ball. It really is,
Right.
but it's going to be, like you said, a lot faster, shortened play clock, the
Yeah.
movement, the downs. So I just become, I think, pass heavy. But it's not here to do it, but it's going to change the game. And I think a whole quarter of it really, even if you're down, you're not out. So I think
Right.
that's what's intriguing. But it is going to be tough, maybe in some cases, to sell the American fan that maybe has never seen it, and they're going to be kind of like, "Wait, what?" But I do see a plus side to it, especially for the players that are looking for more film, that opportunity to move up, right? So
Right.
it's going to open more doors for them in ways. It kind of, some people think maybe a quarter is not enough, but if you're playing a season, a quarter is enough to get a feel for if somebody, how they would, perform in a league with, the field still the fields, like, so not everything's gonna be Canadian about it, but it'll be interesting, no doubt. But yeah, I'm just curious what you think.
Yeah.
You know,
One thing I realized, Michael, is actually outside of like players, coaches, or people who are in the industry like yourself, they don't really know the rules anyways, right? Like they struggle. I was actually at the Bengals Jets game, and people didn't like there's just small things they didn't understand, right? Like people don't understand the difference between a false start and illegal motion. They don't. Like they don't understand those things. They don't understand who's eligible for a pass and who isn't, right? They really don't. They just
when
know
a play gets
someone
called
threw the
back
ball
because of
and
an
someone made a
ineligible
great
receiver,
catch.
right?
Yeah. They don't know that. They just know it was cool and awesome and their guy won, or their guy dropped the ball or whatever the case. That's what they know. So I think again, the movement I think will excite them because they will see faster play and more exciting play. So I don't think they'll care. Now everybody notices the kickoff, right? The kickoff is still, kind of weirded out, I think, for everybody right now until we get used to it. But as far as, like first through fourth down, they don't know the rules. And I think again, they'll enjoy it. Um, um, Probably uh more than the coaches who've only did NFL rules. So
If your team's down and you have a chance to get back into it pretty quick with one quarter, I think
right.
it could be very exciting for any fan. Like I
Right.
think it will keep people for heading for the exits too early, what we see in some other games, whether it's college,
Yes.
professional, whatever. So I do think there's an element, if people are not going to be too purist, but you're right. I think the average fan probably has a less understanding of the game than they probably believe they do. So
Right.
there's probably a lot of truth to that. LeVar.
Yeah.
I think there's another aspect here that is pretty important to ask. I know we haven't seen again all the teams announced, so there's more announcements to come, and we'll see. But your team is an outlier in a way that the ones already announced are not. Seeing that the Dukes are now in the shadow of the National Football League and the Cincinnati Bengals, uh, you're in the same market, right? So it's like they have professional football, they have the professional sport, the professional team that most American cities would die for, right? To have that National Football League franchise. Is there an appetite for more professional football in greater Cincinnati area? And do you anticipate any challenges in gathering this support? You're coming from a spot where you really didn't have the fans coming in, so now that's a new element. Do you see any challenges in trying to generate that support that's going to be required to now make the Dukes sustainable as a professional team and successful in the Continental Football League?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel there's definitely an appetite, and quite honestly, I think, like you said, we are kind of unique in that we're coming with a network of people. So we've had probably 1,500 to 2,000 people that actually put on a Duke's uniform, right? And at this level, they're more likely to come out and participate. In addition to that, we have ties with the youth league community in Cincinnati. The largest youth league organization, I think, in the entire Midwest is based out of Cincinnati. And we are really, really, really close to that organization. So our network, when we start, is going to be fairly large. So, we don't need, I would say we don't need, we're not, going for like 10 million fans like the Bengals. We don't, that's not who we are, right? We feel that, we can get that 100 to 200,000 fans, loyal fans, and owners that will come out and support our efforts. So we feel that for sure there's definitely an appetite for that. Again, there's even, again, being in the semi-pro world for so long, obviously those guys love football, right? And they know the Cincinnati Dukes. So I do feel that, we will get some love, even if they come out to just cheer us down because, they played us before. Doesn't matter, right? As long as they pay to get in and they have a good time, that's all that matters. So I definitely feel like, there's a market for it.
Yeah, there's just whatever gets them in at first, you have an
Yeah.
opportunity to convert them, right? For the long haul. You got whatever it takes, whether it's haterade or whether it's
Right.
you're passionate, whatever it takes to kind of get them in, because you got to start. You're starting, from scratch in some sense.
Yes.
Well, before I let you go, LeVar, I like to present an opportunity for everybody because we don't get into everything, right? This is not one. There's not enough time in the day to dissect every little thing, but I'd like to provide you with the opportunity, like your last moment here with a soapbox, to share information that we haven't quite touched on that you believe is very important for fans, the football community, to know about the Cincinnati Dukes, maybe the Continental Football League, as you all prepare for the 2026 season.
Okay. All right. So like kind of an open-ended question. All
Yeah,
right.
very open.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say, for the Cincinnati Dukes, we are you know, really in love with the community. Again, it started as a love for just the players and what football means to them. And, now we want to bring that to, our community. I didn't mention this before, but the name the Dukes actually means something special to me. I played for the Gloucester Dukes out of Virginia growing up, and football meant a lot to me. So it's like once you're a Duke, you're always a Duke. So I brought that mascot to Cincinnati. So same energy. I would want anybody who is thinking about getting their slice of history. Like we're going to very soon open up the opportunity for the community to buy themselves in and become owners. And it's going to be short, right? Like there's going to be a very small window. So make sure you take advantage of that. Make sure that you are paying attention when that comes out. Because I feel like we're going on an unbelievable journey. Like we are going to crack this non-NFL football and make it successful. And, we want everybody around us to join in on that, right? Like we don't want to be the multi-billionaire who just starts a team and they hoard everything for themselves. That's not the purpose of football, right? That's not really the purpose of sport. Sport is about the people, right? It's about building character. It's about learning who you are so you can take that off the field. And even if you're a fan, it's that escape. It's that way to feel a sense of pride, right? And when you're an owner, I think it's going to feel a lot different than if you're just someone who dropped $500 to go to an NFL game. It's going to feel a lot different. I think, again, if you want to be a part of it, don't sleep on it. Join the train, get on board. I mean, this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's a different opportunity. The Green Bay Packers are one of, or the only one in the National Football League that does what they do. And when you stop
Right.
and you look at the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, it's a really odd commodity. And here's an opportunity to do something that's just not normal. Even in minor league baseball, minor league hockey, if you start looking at how the whole system is, it's all it is. It's very elite. It's suits, and I'm not saying that average people can't wear suits to work either. But I'm like, here's an opportunity to really be part of something, and I think it creates transparency in a way that we're not accustomed to in
Right.
following our professional teams. Because once you're an owner, that opens up a different thing. So I'm very intrigued with that aspect, and I'm be curious to how many people will see it and view it that way, and got to take advantage of something because it's not going to be super expensive to buy in, my understanding. So,
Correct.
and I know I'm sharing,
Yeah.
some additional, but I do. I'm glad you kind of touched on that because it is a component that I think is very, very different and is a massive game changer. So, for whether it's for you or for the league, I think it's huge.
Yes.
Well, LeVar, I appreciate you taking the time to appear on the show to discuss the Cincinnati Dukes, the Continental Football League with me. I know the next 6, 7 months and change, and probably even longer than that, you will be busy,
Yes.
involved to be, trying to essentially not only make that shift of keeping 20%, but now you're going to be building out more of the business side of things and
Correct.
community outreach
Yes.
side of things. So I wish you, the Dukes, the league, best of luck. Health is
Right.
the side that you need for the players and whatnot for the
Yeah.
field, but the luck side, I know good planning and stuff usually, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of luck on that side to help
Great.
aid in that
Yes. Thank
process.
you.
So you're welcome. But perhaps maybe down the road, when the schedule allows for it, and this kind of crazy time now that it's out there, right now you're probably going to get phone calls. You're probably going to be having
Yeah.
all sorts of meetings in a way that you didn't have before. So your time's going to get really tight. So maybe when your time allows it, we can have you come back to discuss
Would
the
love to.
new
Yes.
state of the Dukes
Yes.
and what everything looks like with the Continental Football for you guys.
Great. Yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait. Michael, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You are welcome. Before you go, though, here's your last opportunity to plug website, social media, right? Because now you're
Okay.
you're opening up to more people, right? And they're probably going to want to know who are the Dukes really, other than
Yes.
this 20 some minute interview. Here we are, like, who are they? Where can I follow the rest of the journey? Because it is
Absolutely.
an
Absolutely.
unwritten book, right? So
Yes.
here we go.
Yes. So please, the easiest way to reach us, cincinnatidukes.com. By the time anybody sees this, it's going to be completely updated with all of our social media handles. We're on Facebook, Cincinnati Dukes. We're on X. It'll be CO FL, Cincinnati Dukes, and then also the same on Instagram. So we're going to be on all the major platforms. So make sure you reach out. If you want to reach me personally, it's LeVar, LEVAR Berry at CincinnatiDukes.com.
All right, perfect. Thank you, LeVar.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. The decision to elevate an organization takes a lot of consideration and execution to make it become a reality. I'm grateful to have the opportunity to discuss the thought process and the vision with LeVar. I look forward to seeing how this team transitions to the professional ranks in 2026. This concludes another show. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to having everyone back for an all-new episode of Player 54 Podcast.
Thank you for tuning into today's show. You can support the show and our partners by using code PLAYER54 at checkout at any of the following websites: RoyalRetros.com, where you can save 15%, TrueVictory.com, where you can save 15%, BuckedUp.com, where you can save 20%, ImpactMouthguards.com, where you can save 10%, HobbyArmor.com, where you can save 5%, JustMeatJerky.com, where you can save 10%. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe and rate Player 54 Podcast on your platforms of choice. Do you have a question or topic you would like to have discussed on the show? Message us via social media or send an email to player54podcast@gmail.com.